After Dreamwave Productions shut their doors in January of 2005, the rights to the Transformers comics were handed over to IDW Publishing, who released their first issue of the Transformers run in October of 2005. This began a 17-year run that many fans consider to be the very best Transformers has to offer. I'm talking More Than Meets the Eye, Last Stand the Wreckers, Optimus Prime, the My Little Pony crossover. IDW's take on the Transformers is the franchise's longest continuous story, or it was. In 2019, IDW rebooted their Transformers saga to a mixed reception. Personally, I think they were hoping that this reboot would help get more people back into the comics, but I just thought it was a little like, okay, you just got me invested in this massive universe for 14 years, pulled the plug, rebooted it, and now you're telling a story which I feel is a complete retread of the first continuity. Like, no disrespect to anyone who worked on IDW 2 as it's come to be known, but this sudden reboot just killed my investment in the comics, and it seems like I'm not alone here. Anyway, just know if you haven't read the IDW Transformers range, you're missing out big time. Like any long-running thing, it has its highs and its lows, but the highs completely outweigh the lows for me. Goated. In 2022, after dwindling sales, IDW lost the rights to the Transformers IP, ending the saga. At the time of making this video, we don't know who's picking it up next, but they have a real tough act to follow, especially considering what they ended with. To wrap up the last 17 years of stories, drama, love, sadness, gayness, IDW created one final run of comics, Last Bot Standing. Written and drawn by Nick Roche, Last Bot Standing is 4 issues long and tells the story of the very last members of the Cybertronian race in the far, far future. I will be going into full spoilers here, but I highly recommend reading this yourself, it's fantastic. The comic follows a primitive species of human-like aliens on the planet Donno who are currently undergoing their own industrial revolution. Our audience surrogate Shib is hiding a secret about her old cart, one that's been in our family for generations. It's actually Rodimus Prime. Rodimus, who's been in stasis as her cart for so long he's got robo-wrinkles, has reactivated one last time to stop the last Cybertronians from starving the planet of its resources to survive. As a setup, that's pretty cool, but the execution is what makes this huge finale work. Right off the bat, having this not be tied to any one Transformers universe makes this instantly accessible to any fan. This could be Rodimus from IDW 1 or Rodimus from IDW 2, it could be G1 Rodimus, it could be animated Rodimus if you wanted to go that far. The lack of any direct connections to any previous continuity make this work as a great little hypothetical ending to anything. I personally headcanon this as fitting into IDW 1 because I'm just so emotionally attached to James Roberts Rodimus Prime. Even if accidentally so, this serves as a great ending to his character after the events of Lost Light. I was never too happy with where he ended up, so I'm taking this as closure. I don't care. The overall vibe of this story is so bleak and hopeless, like every character you know and love is dead. The human race is gone, the stars going out, and all that's left in the universe is a few Cybertronians and these weird Legend of Zelda-ass aliens on Cowboy Planet. But the bleakness has a silver lining, and it's not a new hope for the Cybertronian race or somebody who's going to save the universe, but how the primitive aliens of this planet will thrive in this big scary universe they're plonked right at the end of. Something I've always liked about the IDW comics is how they make the Transformers War this completely devastating million-year cycle of universal genocide for the sake of self-preservation. But this comic reels it all back in and tells the same story on a much smaller scale. A struggle for energy that leads the remaining Cybertronians to terrorize another planet. The reason Rodimus is on this planet is to guard the last energon reserve in the universe. Rodimus obviously doesn't want to strip the planet dry, but the last remaining Cybertronians, a bunch of young furries, have adapted their bodies to draw energy from organic beings, i.e. the natives of the planet. Obviously that's pretty horrific and scary, but I think it creates this interesting and completely unwinnable situation for them. If they find the Energon Reserve, the same cycle of violence that started the war would begin once again. If they never found it, they'd keep harvesting organic worlds and peoples until there's nothing left. Is an entire intelligent species worth fighting for when their existence hurts so many? If you were the last member of this race, how far would you go to ensure your own fruitless existence? How many planets could you run dry for energy? It's questions like these that have been the subtext of Transformers for a long while, but here these ideas are pushed to the forefront. Rodimus's final mission is to ensure that Cybertronians can no longer cause harm. He's broken, completely alone. So much so that when the lone Cybertronian crashes down in search of companionship, Rodimus immediately guts him so he can't possibly cause any more damage to the planet or the universe as a whole. He's witnessed what damage just one bot can do. He's witnessed it over and over for millennia. Oh look, it's Bulkhead. In the end, Rodimus teaches the natives how Energon works, advancing their technology significantly and ensuring they have a better future than Cybertron could ever have. He really didn't have to, but he did. Because at the very least, it's the last gift from Cybertron to the universe, a better future. The stars may be going out, but Rodimus has ensured at least one never will. As a conclusion to the Transformers story, this nails it in my opinion. It's tragic and upsetting, but hopeful and still kinda goofy. Something I like in IDW is that despite the grounded nature of some of the stories, they still find time to kind of acknowledge how stupid and silly a lot of the franchise is. And not in a Marvel movie way, where you got characters being like, isn't it ridiculous that this guy can shrink and his name is Ant-Man?
What was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
In IDW, they never shove it in your face and it feels really natural. Just as an example, Wheelie shows up at one point. You remember Wheelie, right? This little shit? Well, he's back as a head on wheels. This story takes this seriously as being a really fucked up thing to happen to somebody. His desperation to live has pushed him to this point where he barely resembles his old self, while also acknowledging that this is Wheelie on a pair of dinky little wheels and it's really stupid. This sort of mishmash of tones is something I'll really miss in IDW. My biggest worry is that by the time the next comic range starts, we'll get something grimdark on the same level as the War for Cybertron trilogy. Whatever the case, even if the Transformers comics don't continue for a long while, I'm more than happy with what we've got. This was a satisfying ending to the franchise as a whole. It's sad, a huge downer ending, but one that's weirdly optimistic and fun. I can't help but feel like there's some kind of subtext here about moving on, which is probably what a lot of us should be doing with IDW. Look forward to what comes next. Don't revel in what once was and stuff. One last thing. Something I think is so incredibly cute is this character, Sharpclaw. They're Nick Roche's daughter's Transformers OC. I wish my dad was Nick Roche and he could put my OC Skybitch into Transformers. Skybitch is a badass who isn't gonna live very long.
Okay, alright.
I want to know how Nick's daughter feels about Sharpclaw being shot in the chest and dying off screen though. That's a bit strange.